reason a lot of us are pursuing STEM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and math, is because those 21st century skills are so important for students to know. Our middle magnet schools that focus on STEM, they both have labs inside of them that are called STEM labs, and they explore different careers, not only just in engineering, but in other sciences. And as they're going through the modules and learning what those careers are about, it gives them a better connection to potential jobs they may eventually want to pursue. In a classroom, you'll see a lot of students using the engineering design process, which is akin to the scientific method. It's just designing, testing, finding out what didn't work and what did work, and going back and redesigning to get it right. This is the STEM lab. It's full of about 18 different modules that have different types of STEM activities associated with them. There's lasers, there's robots, there's 3 different modules dedicated to medical sciences, video production, and kids spend about 10 to 15 class periods in these modules, and then they rotate, and then they kind of get an idea of different careers that are available with those modules. The modules are so self-directed that a lot of times they supply a vast majority of the prior knowledge necessary before the students get into the activities. But like on the XY pattern generator, you have to understand the XY planes on a graph to understand how to manipulate that to get your results. With the robot the student was designing, he needs to understand distances and be able to measure them using metric units to be able to dictate the direction that his robot's going to travel. They walk away, first and foremost, a better understanding of what STEM is, and not only what it is, but why it's necessary, and why it's important for them to consider that as a viable career path, because it is so lucrative. And so as they get more and more acquainted with the various fields in STEM and what that entails, and they understand all the jobs that are out there that require knowledge in these fields, then that gives them a better idea as to what kind of path they might want to pursue when they go on to higher education. In this science class, the students were becoming acclimated with the concept of volume. So they were measuring a block to understand that length times width times height is volume. They had an object like a rock that you couldn't measure that way, so they're displacing the water out of a beaker to determine the volume in milliliters there. We have STEM practices, and the posters are in most of the rooms in the buildings. And in that particular experiment we saw in there, they were, of course, doing science and using mathematics and computational thinking. They were using math in that they were reasoning abstractively and quantitatively. And of course, they're analyzing and interpreting the data that they got from the results of their experiments. All the ones I mentioned, as well as many others, are all practices that they will continue to use as they progress down the road. There's a lot of them that cut across the different curriculums in STEM. Obtaining and evaluating and communicating information, arguing from evidence, these are all foundational skills that students will be able to use and will allow them to be higher level thinking citizens as they learn to analyze and interpret data.
And when we look at line graphs in social studies, we're tracking change.
Well, STEM is not just for science and technology classes. It goes way beyond math and what STEM stands for. It's interwoven throughout the entire curriculum. Social studies is a good example of something you wouldn't right away affiliate with STEM, but they absolutely use it every day. For example, in this social studies class, they're all analyzing data, looking at trends on immigration that have happened over the last 250 years. They're looking at how it's changed, and they're constructing hypotheses of why it may have changed, why we may be getting a certain influx from a certain country at one point in time, and then that kind of drops off again. And they pair that up to a timeline, and it gives them an idea of how to construct an argument based on the evidence they're looking at. Field trips, regular A to B field trips still exist, but it's also cheaper and usually a lot more effective to bring the people to us with distance learning. In 8th grade history, there was a teacher who was studying the Holocaust and studying Anne Frank, and then they started doing the geography of Israel and studying where Israel was. And she had a contact in Israel, and she was able to contact him, and all day long, each of her classes got to have a Q&A session with this former soldier from Israel about what it's like living in the West Bank and the violence, and he explained very well what was going on between Israel and Palestine all through Skype. One of the nice things about STEM is you can bring in real-world activities that can kind of engage the students that may not otherwise be engaged in science, technology, engineering, or math. Some of our high schools are bringing in forensic science experiments where they will set up a crime scene, and students that are engaged with crime novels or CSI or something are attracted to that because they see that now they get the opportunity to do a lot of things they've seen done on television. Integrating STEM throughout the curriculum like we've been doing, it prepares our students for those 21st century jobs we talked about earlier. So whether it's a dentist, or an agriculture engineer, an optometrist, a pediatrician, our students are getting those foundational skills and a foundational understanding of what those jobs entail. Regardless of what our students choose to be when they grow up, having these foundational STEM skills is a significant advantage to them and to anything that they want to pursue in their life.